What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Poker Vlog. Today we are headed out to a home game in Springfield, Missouri. It is a very bright, sunshiny day, as you can see, but it is actually super freaking cold, so we're a little bit bundled up. Gonna go play some deep stacked 1-2 no limit hold'em. Hopefully we can find a winning session. We are on a 2-session downswing. We've lost $1,000 over the last 2 times we played, so that's not great. Hopefully we can turn this around pretty quick. Obviously, going on little downswings like that does not feel good. Hope you guys enjoyed the table footage. We are going to be bringing you a whole bunch of table footage in this episode. I've got my other phone, so hopefully we can capture like all of the hands. That's the goal anyway, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully we play more than a few hands in this one. Things have not been going very well lately, so a nice long session where we get to play lots of hands and have a nice little cash out montage at the end would feel great. What's up, guys? First hand of the session, we are looking down at ace-queen offsuit from the cutoff. We're starting this hand with exactly $400. This is the very first hand of the session. There's a button straddle. The storyteller in the big blind makes it $20 to go, as you guys can see from the table footage, which I am stoked to have once again. I am the only caller, so I think that I should probably be 3-betting this most of the time, especially from this position. However, that is a very early position open, so maybe it's not too crazy to just go ahead and flat here. I don't think I hate it, but I also certainly do not necessarily love just making the flat. I think 3-betting would definitely be the play here. So we are off to see a flop, which comes down a pretty interesting one for us. The flop is Queen, King, 4 with no suits. So flopping second pair, top kicker here, feel pretty okay about that. Yeah, I mean, obviously he's gonna have a lot of kings in his range still, so when he bets $45, I don't think there's anything we can do besides just go ahead and make the call. So we are off to see a turn, which comes down to 8. And the action checks through. So I think after he c-bets and I call, I'm definitely going to be wanting to check here. Off to see a river, which comes down to 9. Pretty weird spot where he checks. I decided to check it back and show my hand. Unfortunately, he shows us king 10. So we lose the first hand of the session. In the next hand, we look down at pocket sixes. A little bit tilted. We lost the first hand of the session. So just going to go ahead and try and set mine here with our small pocket pair. We call a $10 pre-flop open, and we are off to see a flop, hoping that we can find a significant improvement and go ahead and make up for all that money we lost in the first hand. Unfortunately for us, we watched the flop run out with no sixes on it, so we are done with this hand, not going to be getting into any sort of trouble. This is a no set, no bet type scenario. We see a bet, and it is time to just get out of there. So in one of the more interesting hands of the entire session, very early on, we look down at ace-jack of hearts from the small blind playing versus a very tight regular who is not somebody that is usually very splashy at all. Middle position player limps. I go ahead and make it 15. The big blind and the middle position player, who's the very tight regular, make the call. So we are off to see a flop, and boy, is it a good flop for us. Flop comes down ace of diamonds, 6 of hearts, 5 of hearts. So we are flopping top pair, very good kicker, and the nut flush draw to go along with it. The small blind bets 45. I go ahead and raise it up for very obvious reasons. We are trying to get some money in here right now. We've got a great hand. We smash this flop. We make it $150. The big blind folds, and it is time for a decision from the tight regular, who ends up shoving all in. Pretty crazy, not what I expected him to be doing here. I was looking for a fold most of the time, to be real honest, but I don't think we have too much of a choice here. We have to go ahead and make the call. Pretty crazy spot. We end up deciding to run it twice. He shows us 6-5 of diamonds, so he flopped 2 pair. The first turn is a 7 of diamonds, and the river is the 8 of hearts, so thank God we take down half of it on the first run out. The second turn is clean for him, and the second river is clean for him. So a lot of stress in this hand to just end up eventually chopping things up. We'll definitely take a chop here as opposed to losing on such a crazy flop. Obviously the money's just going to go in, but we chop it up, and we're on to the next hand. A little bit later on, we look down at pocket sevens, under the gun +1. We decide it's time to go ahead and open it up with this rather speculative holding. We end up going to the flop after two players make the call. So we're going to try to flop a set here. Need a good bit of help, obviously, against two callers. They're definitely going to have plenty of overcards. Flop is not our favorite. The flop comes down ace high with two clubs, so not ideal. I decide to go ahead and represent the range that I'm normally going to have here, which is going to have a ton of aces in it. I go ahead and lead out for $20. Unfortunately, our opponent makes it $45. I think the worst hand he's really going to have here is some sort of flush draw with some overcards. He could definitely have an ace, so I think we're just going to go ahead and lay this one down and move on. No reason to lose more than we have to in this spot. Shortly after that, we look down at pocket fours. We're going to go ahead and try and flop a set once again. We end up putting in $20 pre-flop in our attempt to flop a set. Unfortunately, we do not. We end up just whiffing the flop and letting this one go. Nothing too exciting to see here. A little bit later on, we look down at ace-king offsuit from the cutoff. We're starting this hand off with about $250. The action ends up folding to me. I make it 15 bucks to go, and the guy who runs the game makes the call from the big blind. So we are off to see a flop, which comes down a pretty good one for us. The flop comes down ace jack 4 rainbow. So we're in a great spot. He checks to us. We go ahead and c-bet $20 here, and he makes the call without thinking about it for too long. The turn comes down to 6, and he checks us once again. We're going to fire out 50 bucks this time, try and get some more value. Unfortunately, he folds. We take this one down, so stacking up a little bit of chips feels pretty good. Anytime we can win a hand with ace-king, we are feeling pretty happy about it. A little bit later on, I look down at ace-2 clubs from the big blind, starting this hand with about $300. The under the gun player makes it $12. Two other players call, and I make the call. We go to a flop, which comes down king high with one club, so not great for me, and the action checks through, which is pretty nice. The turn is a 9 of clubs. I decide to go ahead and bet out here, having improved to a draw to the nuts, so I lead out for 15 bucks. And after we wait a little while here, it turns out that nobody had anything. Everybody folds, so we go ahead and take this one down. A little bit later, we look down at pocket queens from the button. We're starting this hand off with about $350. Middle position 1, who is the storyteller, makes it 15 bucks to go. Time for me to load up a 3-bet. We decide to go with $50, and he makes the call without thinking about it for very long at all. So he can have a very wide range here. Not really sure what he's going to have in this spot. We are off to see a flop, which comes down 8-5-5. So a pretty interesting flop. He checks to us. We're a little bit worried because he can definitely have lots of 5s in his range or pocket 8s, but that's not going to scare us. We're going to bet out $65. He thinks about it for a good little bit before eventually deciding to put in the fold. So we take this one down. Nice to win a 3-bet pot. I highly recommend winning as many 3-bet pots as you possibly can. That's going to make your entire poker existence much easier. Stacking these chips, getting on to the next hand. After that nice little hand with pocket queens, we look down at ace-king offsuit from middle position 1. We're starting this hand with about $350. There's a button straddle. I go ahead and open it up to 20. Once the action gets to me, we end up with several callers, so we are headed pretty multi-way to a really weird flop of 8 deuce deuce. So one weird thing about this hand, the under the gun 1 player, who is one of the people who puts the game together, is dealing this hand while the dealer takes the break and is also playing. Just kind of weird. I don't know. Doesn't really bother me too much. It just seemed weird in the moment. The action checks to the guy who actually runs the game, who bets $30. I decide to go ahead and float on this extremely dry flop. I call, and the under the gun +1 player calls also. So we are off to see a turn, which comes down a 4. Not a very meaningful card. We complete the rainbow there, so there's no flush draws out there. And the action checks all the way through here. So maybe with sensing that weakness, I could have gone ahead and bet, but with a player still behind me to act in the cutoff, who is the initial raiser, I guess I can't really do that. I don't really know. So the action checks through. I'm sensing some weakness in my opponents. The river comes down a 5, so that still doesn't change all that much. I guess some straights get there that kind of could make sense, but is this really what you were trying to make it all the way to the river with? So once the action checks to me, I decide to go ahead and take the lead here. I fire out $80, which in hindsight is probably too big of a size and makes me look bluffy. I'm not really sure. But anyway, the under the gun +1 player doesn't think about it for too long before making the call. I flip over my cards and he shows us pocket 9. So there was no way he was folding here. He's a very tight player, so I kind of want to take advantage of that. But I guess I should have known that if he made it this far into the hand that he probably had a pocket pair very similar to this that he was not going to be folding. So, oh well, we lose that one. I think we played the hand pretty badly. On to the next, I guess. Unfortunately, after that debacle with ace-king and that ill-fated bluff attempt, we don't have enough chips to hold up our camera, so we're going to switch to not table footage for the next few hands. I look down at ace-8 of hearts from the button, starting this hand out with around $200. Someone, I can't remember who, opens up to $15. I call, and we end up going 4 ways to the flop. So, turns out to be a pretty genius play by us because the flop comes down 6, 4, 2, all hearts. So, flop the nuts here, no big deal. Well, second nuts, I guess. We're ready to get it in. The opener, who is a very aggressive regular and has the cutest dog in the game for sure, bets $40. I'm the only caller, no reason to chase him off yet. Turn comes down the 8 of spades, so not that much of a scare card, obviously not a scare card for us at all. The good news comes really fast when our opponent shoves all in. Obviously, we snap call. He does not show his cards. The river comes to 9 of hearts, so we've still got the nut flush. And yeah, he mucks, so we take this one down. You can see this nice big pile of chips. He later claimed to have aces, so we'll take it. Feel great about this one. Back in the action. A little bit later on, we look down at the best hand ever created. We've got pocket aces from the hijack, starting this hand with about $450. The button straddles. I go ahead and make it 20, which I always do if there's a straddle. That's my opening size when there's a straddle. Small blind and big blind limp. They both make the call. So we are off to see a flop, which comes down 7, 6, 2 with 2 diamonds. So we have the ace of diamonds. That doesn't seem too bad for us. The action checks to me. I go ahead and bet out $30, and both players make the call. The small blind and the big blind both are calling here. Turn comes down the 10 of clubs. Action checks to me. I go ahead and go for some more value, wanting to charge all the draws as much as I can get them to call. I go with a sizing of $65, and the first player to act folds, and the second player to act, who is a storyteller, makes the fold as well. So we were pretty disappointed we don't get a little bit more out of our aces there, but we're not here to complain about winning hands. A little bit later on, we look down at a very pretty hand. We've got 10-9 of clubs from middle position, starting this hand out with about $550. The action folds to me. I go ahead and open up to 15, the sizing I always use if there are no limpers and no straddle in the hand, and I get 3 callers. So we're going very multi-way. We've got a hand that can play pretty okay multi-way. Flop comes down an interesting one. The flop is 10-8-8 with 1 club. So we flop top pair, backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw. Yeah, I don't know, kind of an interesting spot. The action checks to me. I go ahead and bet out $35, which I think is a little bit questionable because Jack 10, King 10, Queen 10, Ace 10 are probably all in my opponent's calling range. And we get 2 callers. So the pot is bloating a little bit as we head to this turn, which is the 7 of clubs. So pretty much, I mean, one of the best cards in the deck for us, for sure. The action checks to me again. I go ahead and bet out $65 this time, now that I've got an open-ended straight flush draw to go along with my top pair. And only the guy who runs the game makes the call for $65. So we got a nice sized pot brewing here. We are headed to the river, which comes down 6 of spades. So we saw a black 6 come out and we got all excited. Yeah, whew. So the small blind checks to us. Time for me to go for some value here. I don't think I need to be too worried about any full houses. I'm pretty sure trips would have let me know. And I've got a straight now, so if he had trips, if he has trips, like that's great, obviously. I don't think any full house combination, like I'm gonna have known by now. I go ahead and bet out $85, hoping for a call. He thinks about it for quite a while before putting in the call. So we flip our hand over, he mucks, so we take this one down. I think he maybe said he had a 10, I can't remember exactly, but he said, oh, you have a 9 or something like that, and threw his hand away. So we take down a nice size one, the 10-9 of clubs paying off for us this time. So in this hand, we look down at pocket fives from the button, starting with around 700, something like that. The under the gun player straddled, and then made it 20 when it was his turn to act after I called. There were several callers, and I go ahead and get in there also. Flop comes down a pretty good one for us. Flop is 5-3-2 rainbow, so we are flopping top set right here. The guy who runs the game was the initial raiser and the straddler in this hand from under the gun. He bets out $65. We have another player, a very active reg, who calls as well. So time for us to go ahead and put in the raise here. We're going to be looking at definitely straight draws. We don't want an ace to peel off. We don't want a 4 to peel off. There are a lot of scare cards here. So I bet out $250. My opponent, the initial raiser, makes the call. The other player who had called makes the fold. So we are off to see a turn. Turn comes down the 10 of hearts. So my opponent checks, and I think I make a mistake here by checking also. This is the same player that I had that crazy pocket twos and played a $1,200 pot against his turn straight. So I don't really know. I guess maybe I was playing this hand a little bit scared. Yeah, I don't like that at all. Anyway, I check. So we are off to see a river, which comes down the 2 of hearts. So pretty happy about that. Board pairs. We're in a good spot. He checks. I decide to go ahead and bet out $250 again. He does not think about it for too long before putting in the fold, unfortunately. So maybe cost ourselves some value there on the turn. I don't think, from what he said after the hand, that he was calling anything more after putting in that $250 unless he would have improved somehow and not seen the board pair. I think he had pretty much locked in that he thought I had a set. He might have had aces there. That seems unlikely. He could have had like ace king or something like that and been trying to draw to the straight. Not really sure what he had, but we take down a very big pot, at least a very nice sized pot, and we're on to the next one. In the next one, I've got ace-9 offsuit from the big blind. Things have changed a lot. The game has gotten very short-handed. We've been playing 5-handed for a while, 4-handed a couple of times. So yeah, starting with about $800. There's a button straddle. I make the call, which I think is kind of weird and probably not what I should be doing. Under the gun makes it 20, small blind and the button call, and so do I. So we are off to see a flop, which comes down a pretty interesting one for us. We flop top pair on a 2-spade board. So we are feeling okay, I think. Small blind checks, I check. Under the gun bets $35. I go ahead and make the call, and all others fold. So we're off to see a turn, which comes down the 2 of clubs, pairing the board. So now we've got 9s and 2s with the ace kicker. Not a bad spot, I don't think. I go ahead and check. Under the gun bets $55 this time. Kind of a strong bet. I don't think he's going to have very many 2s in his opening range, though, so I don't think we have to be very worried about this. Not really sure what we're up against right now. Yeah, he could have a lot of different stuff. The river comes down, the king of hearts. So, I don't know. Like, if he has ace king, he got there on us. Don't really like that card at all. I check, and luckily the under the gun player checks back, so we get to flip our hand over without having to put any more money. We show, and he mucks. So we take this one down also. Feels good to win this hand. We've got a nice little stack in front of us, so game's about to break anyway, so as the game's breaking, we just go ahead and rack our chips up. We have a nice winning session in the books, guys. Time for a little cash out montage once again. So like I said, it was way too cold to do an outro in the car. We thought about it and then we were just freezing, so we got out of there. In for 400, out for 1160, so a very nice winning session. Go ahead and put that one in the books. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. We got a ton of subscribers from the last video. If you like the content at all, please click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free. All it will do is maybe give you a notification. I think it'll definitely give you a notification if you hit the subscribe bell. And give me a thumbs up on the video. Helps get it recommended to new people, stuff like that. So thanks, guys. See you in the next one very soon. Have a good one.